Welcome to the All Sorts podcast, where we unravel the world's mysteries one fascinating story at a time. Today, we're diving deep into Havana Syndrome.
Yeah, a medical enigma.
It sounds like it's straight out of a spy thriller.
It's a puzzle that has baffled scientists and intelligence agencies and the public for years.
Yeah, for years.
We've got a stack of intriguing sources to unpack, including excerpts from the 1A investigative report, and we have scientific studies, we have expert opinions, all trying to make sense of this perplexing phenomenon.
So imagine this, you're a diplomat.
Okay.
Stationed in Cuba.
All right.
Soaking in that vibrant culture, and suddenly you start hearing strange piercing noises. Then seemingly out of nowhere, you're hit with a wave of debilitating symptoms
Oh, no.
that doctors struggle to explain. That's the unsettling reality of Havana Syndrome.
And the mystery deepens.
Oh, yeah.
When you consider that the first reported cases back in late 2016 involved both American and Canadian diplomats stationed in Havana, it immediately raised questions about a potential targeted attack, and the implications were huge.
Huge. Go.
Think about it. Diplomats representing their countries.
Right.
Falling ill in a foreign land.
Oh, yeah.
It's a scenario that could easily escalate international tensions.
Right. And the symptoms these diplomats described were far from ordinary.
Change.
We're talking about a range of issues, from hearing loss and vertigo to cognitive problems and intense headaches.
Wow.
Some even reported feeling a strange pressure or vibration in their heads,
Oh my gosh.
almost like something was attacking their brains.
And that's precisely why the sonic weapon theory gained traction early on.
Interesting.
Remember those strange noises the diplomats reported hearing before their symptoms began?
Yeah.
Some describe them as screeching or chirping, others as clicking or piercing.
It's scary.
It's easy to see why people connected the dots and imagined some kind of clandestine sonic attack.
Yeah. It does sound like the plot of a spy movie, doesn't it?
It does.
But as with any good mystery, things are rarely that straightforward.
Exactly, and that's where the 1A investigation plays a crucial role.
Okay.
Their deep dive into Havana Syndrome uncovered a much more complex picture than initially met the eye.
So what did the 1A investigation reveal about the sonic weapon theory?
Yeah.
Was it a plausible explanation or a red herring?
Well, their findings, along with those of the FBI, actually pointed away from the sonic weapon theory. They explored various types of sonic weapons, from infrasound and ultrasound to more conventional acoustic devices,
Right.
but couldn't find a definitive link to the reported symptoms.
Oh, wow.
In fact, the FBI's investigation went as far as ruling out a sonic attack altogether.
That's a pretty significant turn of events. It seems like the initial assumptions about a sonic attack were leading investigators down the wrong path.
And that's the beauty of a thorough investigation like the one conducted by 1A.
Yeah.
They didn't just start at the most obvious explanation. They kept digging, exploring other possibilities, and challenging existing assumptions. This led them and other researchers to consider a whole range of alternative theories, each with its own set of proponents and skeptics.
So if it wasn't a sonic weapon, what else could have been causing these bizarre and debilitating symptoms?
Well, one theory that emerged,
Okay.
and this one gets particularly interesting,
Okay, I'm listening.
is the possibility of a microwave weapon.
Microwaves. That's certainly not what I expected. Can you elaborate on how this theory came about?
Of course, researchers like Douglas H. Smith,
Okay.
who led a study on the affected diplomats, and Beatrice Alexandra Guillaume, whose research focused on the biological effects of microwave exposure,
Interesting.
were among the proponents of this theory. They argued that the symptoms reported by the diplomats align with what's known about microwave exposure.
So they were suggesting that these diplomats were somehow targeted with microwaves. How would that even work?
Yeah.
And wouldn't there be some kind of physical evidence?
That's where things get even more fascinating. Alarm, for instance.
Going into something called the Frey effect,
Okay.
which is essentially the perception of sound caused by pulsed microwave radiation.
Wow.
So theoretically, if you were exposed to these specific types of microwaves, you might actually hear them as distinct noises,
Wow.
similar to what the diplomats described.
Wow, that's wild. So it's like an invisible weapon that can cause both auditory and physical effects.
Precisely. And Guillaume's research went further, highlighting that many of the symptoms experienced by the diplomats, things like sleep disturbances, vision problems, and even brain swelling,
Oh my gosh.
have been linked to microwave exposure in other contexts. It's a compelling argument. And it certainly explains why this theory caught the attention of so many people.
But I imagine a theory as controversial as this one also had its fair share of critics, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not everyone was convinced by the microwave weapon theory.
Right.
Some experts pointed out that there was no clear evidence of such a weapon being used.
And questioned whether the available technology could even produce the effects described.
Interesting.
Plus, there was another explanation that gained traction, one that was almost comically different from the high-tech weaponry we've been discussing.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What could possibly be a more contrasting explanation than microwave weapons?
Well, get ready for this.
Okay.
It's the cricket theory.
Crickets. You're kidding, right?
Nope, I'm serious.
Really?
Researchers analyzed those audio recordings of the strange noises that diplomats reported hearing.
Okay.
And concluded that they were most likely produced by the Indies' short-tailed cricket, a species native to the Caribbean.
Huh.
They even pointed out that the cricket's chirping patterns matched the sounds on the recordings quite closely.
So instead of some sophisticated spy technology, it was just a bunch of crickets. Talk about an anticlimactic twist.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes the simplest explanation might actually be the correct one.
Yeah.
But, of course, the Havana Syndrome puzzle doesn't end there. The 1A investigation, as well as other studies, delved into even more intriguing possibilities, each adding another layer to this complex and fascinating story.
This is already sounding like a real head-scratcher.
Yeah.
We've gone from sonic weapons and microwave attacks to the chirping of crickets. I'm eager to hear what other theories emerged from these investigations. But before we dive into those, let's take a quick pause. What stands out to you so far? What are your initial thoughts on this medical enigma?
It really is a case that keeps you guessing, isn't it? You've got these seemingly high-tech theories like sonic and microwave weapons, and then you have something as commonplace as crickets. It's almost like the investigators were bouncing back and forth between a spy thriller and a nature documentary.
Exactly. And as we continue our deep dive, the investigation takes us into even more intriguing territory. One of the most fascinating aspects that the 1A investigation highlighted was the possibility of mass psychogenic illness, also known as conversion disorder. It's a concept that challenges our understanding of how the mind and body interact.
What's so compelling about this theory is that it acknowledges the very real and often debilitating symptoms people are experiencing,
Right.
while also suggesting that the root cause might be psychological rather than physical.
So you're saying that even though there might not be a specific external cause, like a weapon or a toxin, the symptoms themselves are genuine and can significantly impact someone's health and well-being.
Precisely.
Right.
And think about the context surrounding these initial incidents. These diplomats were working in a high-pressure environment representing their countries in a foreign land.
Right.
Add to that the political tensions between the U.S. and Cuba at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's easy to see how stress could play a significant role.
Right. And as the 1A investigation pointed out, there was a lot of media attention and speculation surrounding these incidents,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
which could have further amplified the fear and anxiety among those who were potentially affected.
Absolutely. Mitchell Valdez Sosa, the director of the Cuban Neuroscience Center,
Okay.
even suggested the possibility of psychological contagion, where the widespread fear and awareness of these unusual symptoms might have unintentionally contributed to their spread.
It's like a kind of snowball effect, where the more people hear about these strange symptoms, the more likely they are to experience something similar themselves, even if there's no underlying physical cause.
Exactly. And that's why the concept of mass psychogenic illness is so intriguing in this case.
Right.
It adds another layer of complexity to an already multifaceted puzzle.
So we've got sonic weapons, microwaves, crickets, and now mass psychogenic illness.
Yeah.
It seems like every possible avenue is being explored, yet the answer remains elusive.
And just when you think you've wrapped your head around all the potential explanations, the story takes another unexpected turn.
Okay.
As the 1A investigation revealed, reports of Havana Syndrome started popping up beyond Cuba.
Oh, really?
Cases were being reported in China, Vienna, even Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And it wasn't just diplomats anymore. Intelligence personnel and their families were also experiencing these unusual symptoms.
So from a handful of cases in Havana, this phenomenon suddenly expanded across the globe, impacting a wider range of individuals.
That's right. And this global spread further fueled the mystery and raised the stakes considerably.
Right.
If it was happening in multiple locations across different countries, affecting not just diplomats but also intelligence personnel,
Right.
it suggested something more coordinated, more widespread.
And with this expanded scope, the investigation naturally intensified around.
Absolutely. The CIA, particularly concerned about reports of their own officers being targeted, stepped up their involvement.
Wow.
They even established a dedicated task force to try and uncover the truth behind these incidents.
Wow.
It became a matter of national security, not just a medical mystery anymore.
It's fascinating how what started as a localized cluster of cases transformed into this global phenomenon, captivating the attention of intelligence agencies and sparking intense debates among scientists and experts.
And despite all the research, all the investigations, and all the theories put forward, a definitive cause for Havana Syndrome remained elusive. The 1A investigation, like many others, highlighted the complexities of this issue and the challenges faced by those trying to solve it.
Right.
There were conflicting conclusions from major reports, with some pointing to the possibility of directed energy weapons, while others attributed the symptoms to environmental factors, pre-existing conditions, or stress.
Wow.
It's a testament to the intricate nature of this puzzle that even with dedicated resources and expertise, a clear-cut answer remained out of reach.
It's almost like the more we learned, the more questions we had.
And that's precisely what makes the Havana Syndrome case so captivating.
Right.
It's a reminder that there are still mysteries in the world that defy easy explanations, even in this age of advanced technology and scientific understanding.
So if the investigation couldn't definitively pinpoint a cause, what were some of the key findings and insights that emerged from the 1A investigation and other reports? What new pieces of the puzzle did they uncover?
Well, one of the most significant findings that the 1A investigation highlighted was the sheer diversity of the reported symptoms and experiences. They interviewed numerous individuals affected by Havana Syndrome, and the range of symptoms described was striking. Some experienced primarily auditory sensations, while others reported more neurological or cognitive effects. And the severity of the symptoms also varied widely, from mild discomfort to debilitating conditions that significantly impacted their daily lives.
So even though there might not have been a single unifying cause, the 1A investigation helped to shed light on the multifaceted nature of Havana Syndrome and the real impact it was having on people's lives.
Absolutely. And by focusing on the individual experiences and perspectives of those affected, the 1A investigation brought a human dimension to a story that often got lost in the technical jargon and geopolitical speculation.
Right.
It reminded us that behind all the theories and investigations, there were real people whose lives had been profoundly affected by this enigmatic phenomenon.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most important insights come from listening to the stories of those directly impacted, rather than solely relying on scientific data or official reports.
Exactly. And as we delve deeper into the 1A investigation and other sources, we'll uncover even more intriguing details and perspectives that add further layers to this complex and captivating story. But before we continue, what are your initial thoughts on the diversity of experiences reported by those affected by Havana Syndrome? Does it make you lean towards a particular theory, or does it further deepen the mystery for you?
It certainly does. It makes it much harder to figure out what could be the cause.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that really struck me as I was going through the 1A investigation.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like a dry recounting of the facts and theories. They really got into the human side of it.
For sure.
They shared stories of people who had their lives turned upside down by these unexplained symptoms.
And I think that's really crucial to understanding Havana Syndrome.
Yeah.
It's beyond the geopolitical intrigue and the scientific debates.
There are real people who have suffered real consequences.
Yeah.
And their stories, they remind us that this isn't just some abstract puzzle to be solved.
Right.
It's something that has a deep impact on individuals' families, even international relations.
Absolutely. And the 1A investigation did a great job of highlighting those personal accounts.
Yeah.
For example, they interviewed a CIA officer who described experiencing just this sudden onset of debilitating symptoms while he was stationed overseas.
Terrible.
He talked about the confusion and the fear and the frustration of not knowing what was happening to him or if he would ever fully recover.
And his story isn't unique.
Right.
The 1A investigation, along with other reports, documented numerous cases of individuals who had their careers derailed, their health compromised, and their lives just disrupted by these mysterious ailments.
It's a stark reminder that while we might be, fascinated by the mystery itself, we can't lose sight of the human cost.
Right.
You're right. And I think that's one of the reasons why this story continues to resonate with so many people.
Yeah.
It's not just about the search for an explanation. It's about empathy, understanding and acknowledging the suffering that these individuals have endured.
And that brings us to another important aspect of this story.
Okay.
That the 1A investigation touched upon the ethical considerations surrounding the investigation itself. Remember those reports of animal experimentation being conducted in relation to Havana Syndrome?
Yeah.
The 1A investigation explored the controversy surrounding those experiments and the concerns raised by animal rights groups.
Yeah, it's a difficult issue, isn't it?
It is.
On one hand, you have the desire to understand this phenomenon and to potentially develop treatments for those who are suffering.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have these ethical implications of using animals in research, especially when the potential benefits are uncertain.
Exactly. It's a complex dilemma with no easy answers. And it's one that the 1A investigation didn't shy away from.
Right.
They presented different perspectives on this issue, allowing listeners to grapple with the ethical considerations alongside the scientific and geopolitical ones.
I think that's what makes the 1A investigation and this deep dive as a whole so valuable.
Yeah.
We've explored the various theories, the scientific evidence, the political implications, and the ethical dilemmas surrounding Havana Syndrome. We haven't arrived at a definitive answer,
Right.
but I think we've gained a much deeper understanding of the complexities of this issue.
I agree. And even though the mystery might remain unsolved for now, I think there are some key takeaways we can glean from this exploration.
Okay.
First, it's clear that Havana Syndrome is a multifaceted phenomenon with a wide range of potential contributing factors. There might not be a single cause or a single explanation that fits all cases.
Right. And second, it's crucial to remember the human element of this story. Behind the scientific data and the intelligence reports are real people.
Yes.
Who have experienced real suffering.
Yeah.
Their stories deserve to be heard and acknowledged.
Absolutely. And finally, I think this deep dive has highlighted the importance of critical thinking and approaching complex issues with an open mind.
Right.
We've seen how initial assumptions can lead investigators down the wrong path.
For sure.
And how even seemingly outlandish theories can warrant consideration when we're dealing with something as enigmatic as Havana Syndrome.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most baffling mysteries require us to question our preconceived notions and to embrace the unknown.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe one day the echoing whispers of Havana Syndrome will reveal their secrets.
Yeah.
But until then, the mystery continues to beckon, inviting us to delve deeper, to question and to explore the vast landscape of the unknown.
And if this deep dive into the world of Havana Syndrome has sparked your own curiosity, we encourage you to check out the full 1A investigation and all the other sources that we've used. You might be surprised at what you uncover.
And if you've enjoyed this journey through the labyrinth of knowledge, we invite you to join our vibrant community of explorers here at the All Sorts Podcast.
You can subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on X, Instagram, and Threads, and be sure to search for All Sorts Podcasts wherever you get your podcasts.
We're always unraveling fascinating stories and exploring the mysteries of the world, and we'd love for you to be a part of the adventure.
Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.